Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to another video for Lord of Heroes. All right, so hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let's get this show on the road. So today we're about to talk about 5 things you didn't know. Well, if you did know, well, that's kind of cool. But if you didn't know, that's even better. And we're going to explain some things. So if you know some things that probably people didn't know, leave that down in the comment section below, and we'll talk about that and get that discussion going. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is renown. Now, I'm not about to talk about every place you get renown. Well, a couple of the major places that you will get renown. First place is we're going to go to our Calamities Cradle, and we're going to click on our Alliance shop, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the end where it costs us 30,000. We can get these 3 times a month, and we get 100,000 renown, extra renown that we can get. Technically, if you guys been playing since launch today, not today of this video, but today of the recording, you probably have enough renown to make a purchase of it. Now, I'm not saying that you should, because we're going to say that for our guild shop guide later on. I want to talk about what I believe you should be purchasing out of here, because there's a few routes that you can go in purchasing. Then we're going to talk about our second place you can go, the Coliseum. Now in the Coliseum, it's a little different because right now mostly everybody is losing purposely to get potions. But if you win, you get 300 renown. It's not a lot, but it adds up over time. The significance of it is not great, but yeah. All right, moving on to the next thing we're going to talk about on our list is crystals. Now, there's various places that you can get crystals from, but I want to talk about two in particular. If we look over here, right way in the back, we have Cannon just sitting there right next to your Lord. It says next gift in 18 minutes and 50 seconds or so. Every so often, she will have crystals in there. Maybe like 30 or so or 50. It's not a lot, but it happens. It does happen. Next place you will get crystal from, and this is like a major thing because everybody thinks the blue Vanessa is like extremely expensive for 6,000 of your crystals. Actually, she is not. She's not. If you do this one trick, and that is each day you go to your hall of trials, and when you're in the hall of trials, as you progress, you want to level up and try to do as many floors and complete 3 stars as possible. The best ones are going to be the attribute dungeons each day because you're going to have a different one, and then the weekend you can fill in the blanks. Now, what will happen is every time you clear 4, you get 100, but you also complete a feat. And when you complete a feat, you're gonna get extra on top of that, like tens and thirties or whatever, depending on how far you get in to the dungeon itself. And this is gonna add up. You can put probably a good thousand extra crystals in you if you've progressed and haven't touched it yet. But if you're just greedy and you just want to get it right away, you definitely should be sitting there grinding out the dungeons. Each and every one of them, the Hall of Treasures and the Hall of Experience. I don't believe those give you any. If they do, I don't recall because I haven't paid attention in a while. But you probably done those like all the time. You should be farming those. But you should be farming those each day. But for your Hall of Trials, your Hall of Elements, and then your Hall of Elements, you should be grinding, trying to get those 3 stars on each stage as much as possible, and you're gonna get plenty of gems through that, and that'll be the extra gems you need to either get that gotcha, get that blue Vanessa, because there's no reason that you shouldn't have blue Vanessa before normal mode is complete. If you don't have her before normal mode is complete, chances are you didn't farm enough of your crystals, or you spent too much on your gotcha when you don't necessarily need to spend a lot on your gotcha in normal. Hard mode is when you really need to put that grind in. A little extra little tip there, extra little tip. So let's move on. Now, I love this game. I love Clover Games as a developer making this game. But what I don't like is sometimes I'm confused on their decision making and what they do. Now, what I'm saying about that is the contract. On your contract, you get to choose between 3 different three different heroes. We want to start here. Like, I'm sure everybody, or at least most of you that want to follow the meta, pick Chrome. Chrome is definitely your meta pick, the number one that you should pick. It's a toss up between Larray and Lucilica. A bit of a toss up on which one that you should pick. I know a lot of people has been advocating for Larray. She was the very first one I picked on my main account on the Korean server. I went with her, and then I went with Chrome. And then some of my other accounts, I went with Lucilica first, just because since I didn't have her, I wanted to see what she was capable of, and I really like her damage output and everything. She's great for bosses. She's a striker class at that, so she's going to put out a bunch of extra damage and ignore defense and all of that great stuff. So I'm at odds on who should be the second contract, but you can only get two. You can only choose between these three, two of them, and before they move you to the next three contract, the next three heroes that you get for your next contract. Now, I did have on one of the accounts that I was playing on where I was only able to get one hero, and then they moved me up to the next tier of contracts. I don't know what was going on there, but generally you get two, then they move you on to the next contract. So think critically of who you're gonna pick. I'm probably gonna go with Larray again, just because of the AOE, her capabilities in PvP as well, and then she has a Death Break on skill one. That's been kind of helpful running damage through progression, because since I used her through progression a lot. But yeah, she's a great farmer. She does quite a bit of damage. She's not like OP in her damage, but she's definitely mid tier in my opinion. Not top tier, but definitely like mid tier. Lucilica, insane damage on her second skill, so she's definitely a good option for single target damage. She can lay in some great damage for bosses. So if you're leaning towards just having extra boss damage on a free to play route, Lucilica is definitely your girl to pick. And it all depends on, if you what waifu that you want more. You want the dragon chick or do you want the elf chick? Simple as that. All right, I'm on a tangent long enough. Let's move on. The next one, I would definitely like another content creator to go behind me and get exact numbers for the community, but I have a rough estimate for these numbers and what you need for flat stat versus percent stat, because a lot of people might be thinking that flat stats are trash, but they're actually great. And my rule of thumb right now is if your HP is above 5,000, you go percent. Lower than 5,000 is flat. I'm sure the numbers is four something in there, 4 9 something, 4 8 something possibly. I'm just rounding up just to make sure throughout my testing when I first started the game, because this is one of the things I did when I first started, but I don't have a complete exact number. I just have a rough estimate of where you should be when you're doing flat versus percent. So for HP, you go flat if it's under 5,000, percent if it's above 5,000. For your attack, you go flat if it's below 800, percent if it's above 800. Defense, you go flat if it's below 650 and percent if it's above 650. And that's just my rough estimates on each. I'm sure there are probably a little bit lower that you can go, a little bit closer going lower than it is where I'm at, but this should help you be able to mid max a little bit more in your gear. Also, keep in mind, anytime you get a piece of purple gear or you get the piece of yellow gear, it's going to always be percent. The only time you will have flat is on, if I can find a piece, is on your gray, bluish, just yeah, the bluish gray gear. That's the only time you're gonna have a flat stat where it could be a percent stat. So just so you know, because I know we're pulling and we're trying to get all these class based sets, but they're gonna always be percent in those class based sets unless it's speed, because speed is always flat. But every other stat between HP, attack, and defense can be flat or percent. So that's that. The last and final tip that I want to give. is your class-based agates. These are the rarest materials in the game. And you're like, the agates, what's that? We're going to go to our mats. These things right here, these are your agates. Now, you're going to get plenty of them through, like, your little quest missions that's down here at the bottom left. You click here on, I actually got one that's coming up now where I'm getting 5, but you click here, you're going to get a lot of goodies. You can see exactly what all you get, but you're going to get plenty of these going through as you complete them, playing through the game. And you should be following them accordingly. Don't worry about trying to get through the content super fast. Make sure you're just doing these. Like what I'm doing on my account is I'm grinding them, and when I'm stuck, like I was out of Coliseum tokens, so all I did was went to Hall of Trials, farmed up some gear, sold all the bad gear to get myself some gold, and then waited till it refilled so I can come back and actually complete it. And I do that in between when I'm stuck in this quest line. It's usually expeditions and Coliseum. That's usually when I'm stuck in this quest line, because everything else you can do practically no matter what, unless you're just stuck on a stage where you can't 3-star or something. Now, the reason these materials are hard is if you read here, it tells you they can be found mainly in story regions. So when you're in the story farming, they are a rare drop, and the chances of you getting the one you're looking for is really low. You can also get them out of the Mystic Shop, but chances are it's going to be somewhere further down in levels where you probably not unlocked yet. They're not cheap. They are pretty expensive if you do purchase them, but if you can purchase them, doesn't matter how much gold you have, how much gear that you want to power up, buy them. They are critically the most important resource that you have, because you need them to promote your heroes. And once you get to the point where you start 5ing and 6-starring heroes, these materials you need an abundance of, and they're rare to get. Like, even for people that are whales, there is not one pack in the game so far where you can buy them. You can't even buy them. So even whales are held back because of this resource. You can get them from events, as they give us events, because there are some events that they run that we don't have currently. They probably give us one once we get like a month into the game or something like that, or so, maybe a couple weeks. Who knows? You can get them from claiming your alliance rewards. You can get them from your expedition rewards. You can get them from your raid rewards. There are various ways you can get them, but they are few and far between. So, this is one thing that is critically important with promoting your heroes, is knowing the team that you're going to be using the most and not taking them too far ahead. Like, some heroes you kind of don't want to take past 4-star, other heroes you don't want to go past 5-star, because you got to remember you need them for each attribute, so you want to be frugal on the attribute. So it's like we're all investing to Helga as our main striker. So if you're going to use her as your main striker, you need to put all your striker mats into her and no one else. If you plan on replacing her, then I would say probably one of the best replacements will be the Blue Pup, which is the Blue Schneider, because I know a lot of people are using him for PvP. He's a possible solid replacement. There are some other heroes that can replace her, but I'm just saying, if you're going to use those materials, use those on who you plan to invest in. I'm sure a lot of you have already started 5-starring her, so you stick with the plan. Stick with the plan. Don't back out, because these materials are hard to come by, and being F2P, you're gonna have a trouble finding them. Paying a little more gives you more opportunity to find them, because you're able to grind more. If that makes sense, you're able to like go in and farm more stages where you're out of energy, you can't do anything. Another problem is the holy trinity of clerics is going to kind of hold you back a bit, because you're investing into 3 different clerics. Now, right now, warning to everybody: do not, and I repeat, do not 5-star Red Vanessa. Leave her at 4-star. Leave her at 4-star, because she's going to help you clear hard mode and extreme on those really difficult boss stages. All you need to really make her do is be tanky, because she scales off of defense and HP, so you can stack as much of it as you can, even on her ring and her her necklace. You might want to try to get some speed and some subs, or maybe one piece of speed gear so she can at least be slower than the rest of your team, but fast enough to be better than the bosses. If you have like some mishaps between your team of somebody being a little bit too slow because you're trying to run a damage build and you just don't have the speed, but they're slower than a boss and you need to have her faster than a boss, this is why we invest into the light Johann to give yourself a chance to provoke the boss and not get decimated. All right, but besides that, Charlotte's going to be a staple late game and other areas of content. The same with the blue Vanessa, so they're going to be taking most of your materials. If you're welling and you're using the red Johann, chances are you probably going to invest into him and end up building him up. If that's what you choose to do, that's fine because you're going to be able to make it up anyway. But outside of that, I would not invest into any clerics past 4-star outside of Green Charlotte and Blue Vanessa. So that is pretty much it. I hope you guys have learned something new that you didn't do before, because this is my 5 things you didn't know. And if you did, make sure you smash that like button. If some things that you think people didn't know and you want to share, put that down in the comment section below. If it's some things that did know, we can talk about that also in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here and turn those post notifications on so you can see my content when it goes live. We got a lot of things to talk about and cover and give you my perspective on the game, but we'll be getting through that in the future. So much love to you guys. God bless you all. And this is the Gamer Dude signing out. I'll catch you in the next one. Deuces.